Good morning, Zio here, and today we go back into the world of RuneScape. Old school RuneScape. Anyway, we're going to be talking about some security concerns that apparently has, well, it's not that it has surfaced, it's been around for quite a bit. A lot of people have apparently known about it, it's been talked about, and it's been buried. We're going to talk about a PMod, or is that what it is? PMod. That apparently was demodded or whatnot for raising security concerns, and of course the response to that demotion, I guess is the best way to put it, of mod status, of course. And then we're going to get into some code that could be very harmful if used by the wrong person. So let's get into it, shall we? And of course, all the links to everything, all the sources and stuff are linked down below if you want to take a quick or a better look at some of the stuff, because we're not going to completely cover everything in pure detail just due to the fact that it would probably take me some time. I'm also going to try and put things more into layman's terms to make them, I guess, easier to understand, which isn't exactly an easy task for me to begin with, because I'm very bad at that. I understand a lot of the terms when it comes to certain things, but I have a really hard time explaining some of the even most simplest of terms in a language that people can understand. It's just always been a thing of mine that I just can't do it. I can do the thing, right? But I can't exactly explain how the thing works. It's one of those weird things. But anyway, so we've been talking about RuneScape in the past, right? Some false bannings and other stuff. Another topic I do want to get into is multi-boxing or multi-accounting, just sort of looking into it and talking about, I guess, more or less the ethics of such a thing, because the way I'm used to it happening through, say, WoW is one way, but the way it's handled on RuneScape is a completely different beast, and depending on how it's being done, may or may not be actually covered in the TOS, but which requires something of a more deeper look. And honestly, I think I probably need some help actually talking about it, or at least explaining it and getting the things back and forth, I guess, the banter, whatever it is you want to talk when it comes to talking about that sort of thing. So we're going to save that for another video, and it was explained more in depth to me through private messages, which I do appreciate. Thank you, because a lot of my stuff when I was talking about it does come from more of the WoW side of things, because I still am learning how RuneScape works. It's an antiquated game, not knocking it. There's a lot of people who still love this game, but its security, to me, as looking into it from just that side of things, just looking into it, how secure this thing is and stuff, really did feel like it was in early 2000s. Like, I was looking at some stuff on it. There was this data breach somewhere back in 2018 or something I was looking into, and it really felt like the security was like around 2006, 2007-esque, I guess, would be the best way to put it. But then I've also run into this post that apparently kind of makes it older than that, I guess you can say. But we're going to get into this because I've rambled enough. But this here is apparently talking about somebody who was un-PMod, where, from what I can guess or get from this, or certain players who get sort of a mod type status, player mods, I guess is what the P stands for various tasks and things. It's a system I'm definitely not too in-depth on. I've never really heard of such a thing, because in World of Warcraft we had gosh, now I can't even remember what they're called, but essentially they were staff members who played on actual characters inside the game, and you know, they could do things and handle queries and fix bugs and or fix, you know, certain things with players where maybe something has messed up or the loot didn't drop or something. They can just sort of spawn it in for the players, that sort of thing, which doesn't happen anymore. The system does not work anything remotely like what it used to back in the day, so that thing's sort of a thing of the past. But anyway, hi everyone. I wanted to offer comments on the topic. This discussing is about removing PMOS status from a player who had said in a social post that Jagex support had showed a middle finger to one of their customers. This is a post that I did find somewhere, and now I can't find it. I don't know what I've done with it because I wanted to read that first, right? So we're just going with this now. I apologize. I wanted to show that off, but I've lost it. So if somebody wants to send it to me again or something, it'd be fantastic. Anyway, many of the comments on this thread are based around account security, as the original social post was in retaliation to the player being hijacked. I'd like to address the topic of the PMod being demodded. Firstly, the person did not get demodded for speaking up about account security. Now, according to their post, that's exactly what happened. They brought up some security issues, and they were eventually, demodded, right? All PMods have access to private set of forums and meet with us from time to time. And in these situations, they can be very forthright in their opinions, and we welcome that. Every time I've ever heard a company say that, it is usually the opposite. Just saying, this is from personal experience. It's like, yeah, we really don't want to hear everything you got to say. But anyway, we're going to say we do. And then in those situations, they can be very forthright and in their opinions, and we welcome that. PMods are also welcome to offer constructive criticism on public forums. These issues were not about the opinions being offered, but how it was expressed. And now this is a completely different weird take for this, right? So this person was demodded, right? And it wasn't because he expressed concerns, but it was how he said it, which is an interesting way to put it. I can understand when an employee or somebody, or well, in this case, a player mod or a PMod, might be a little bit upset because they're not being heard, and then they decide to go shout about it somewhere else, like maybe RuneScape's main forum or something to that nature. But to demod them as a result to that, especially when it's a big issue that you're just straight up ignoring, speaks more about it than anything. You can phrase it any way you want. Well, they used words that were unsavory or something like that, and that's just not how a mod should speak. Well, you were also not listening to them and sweeping it under the rug or something, and of course a lot of this is just me speculating, right? I don't know definitely what happened other than what has been said about the incident. Because I wasn't directly there, of course, wasn't watching it go down or anything like that. And, it's... Anyway, part of the context missing from the current situation is the PMods have guidelines that they agree to. And within those guidelines, it is section that... in a section that politely asks PMods to act... or to not act unmodly. Now, I did highlight these because these are key words to think about. Politely. Listen, if I ask somebody that is working with me for something to politely do something, right, or to act politely or in this manner, yeah, I can get ticked off when they decide to not, right? When they decide to say, for instance, act unmodly every once in a while. Because I've politely asked them to, but I haven't decreed to them that they have to act a certain way. If this is the phrasing we're going to use, that is very bad phrasing. Just going to go ahead and say this. If you want your people to speak a certain way, you need to tell them up front, hey, listen, you will act accordingly to these guidelines, and that's it. I understand that sometimes when you have like a gosh, what is the term we voluntold? There we go. That's a good term. In the military, we had this thing called when you were voluntold to do something. They were asking for a volunteer for something, and you just happened to be the face and the person in the wrong place at the wrong time to be volunteered to take care of a task. Now, you know, it's one thing for that to happen, right? But when you set up a set of guidelines, you know, and you say politely ask, you know, I could theoretically say, you know, you volunteered me for it. I've got other things, better things to do. I'm not going to do it. Yeah, I could see some reprimanding, getting yelled at for it, right? But as for being dishonorably discharged because I failed to sweep, you know, this corridor or whatever it is, because I just happen to be the person in the wrong place at the wrong time when I have a server to go fix, you know, that would be a completely different beast. Because that's exactly kind of what this feels like. For example, I walk down a corridor, I'm heading to a particular spot because the server's been giving us issues in the whatever room that I'm pretty sure I can't actually say. Anyway, and I need to go fix it. I've got something that needs to be done. I walk by and Captain walks by and goes, hey, Sergeant, or Airman, or whatever rank my rank was at the time. Hey, I need you to sweep this up and mop it because we've got an important guest who's going to be here in about 45 minutes. I need you to do this. And it's like, you're going to be volunteered at this point to do this, or you too, I need one of you to do this, you know, because there's two of us or something. Sorry, sir, it can't be done. We've got something better to do. Oh, there's nothing more important than making this look nice for the general who's showing up. Yeah, we can't. Okay, sure. We'll get to it, but don't know when. We go, we do our thing, general gets there, still not done, we get yelled at. You know, that's probably the worst that gets happened. But if we got dishonorably discharged because we didn't sweep a thing, yeah, that'd be a different thing. And this example's going on way too long. Anyway, point is, if you politely ask your PMods to act a certain way and they occasionally don't act politely, you know, or don't do it occasionally, they act a little unmodly, that's not terms for demod. That's terms for get them over to the side and say, hey, look, dude, we're, you know, don't. That's a slap on the wrist kind of thing. Anyway, that doesn't mean that they are censored. It just means that they are type of ambassadors. They should act in a mature, polite, and considerate way. Much to the same as volunteer help at a charity shop, not to be expected to be graphic and undiplomatic about the charity in a social post. Yeah. I mean, that's one way of doing it. But again, I feel like that's not something that should be unmod worthy. You know, the guidelines are posted right at the top of the private forums, reminding the reviewers that are sent regularly and that are even linked in the original invite message to become a PMod. Every PMod knows these guidelines, and they don't agree, and if they don't agree with them, it is absolutely fine, and they have a route to let us know. Okay, but don't talk unmodly. Anyway. The freedom referenced in the message relates to not having to be bound by these PMod guidelines. Retrospectively, it wasn't the best choice of phrasing. Well, it might be if you've got these guidelines, but then, you know, you don't set up a strict enforcement of said guidelines. You know, that could be, you know, you've given them the freedom to do as they please. However, at the same time, you're telling them, yeah, you don't have the freedom to do everything. You know, you can't do this, you can't do that, but also you got the freedom to go say and talk how you feel. Anyway, now the topic that triggered this demod is clearly emotional or emotive. I've read this thing 3 times now. Clearly emotive, and nobody, including my team, wants to see a player hijacked. It annoys us, and we have huge sympathy for anyone in this situation. I can empathize with the sentiment of the PMod message, which was poorly worded but laced with good intent. Then why demonetize them? Like, seriously, I don't understand any of this at this point. It's like we didn't demod this guy because of, you know, what he brought up, okay, or girl. You know, we didn't demonetize this person because of what they brought up. It's because of how they wrote it. But at the same time, we're going to sit there and say, yeah, it was worded poorly, but it was laced with good intent. Anyway, I really can't remember what the resolution with this thing was because, like I said, I can't find the other posts. I had them, but I can't find them. Anyway, so yeah, this was about security. This was a while ago. I can't remember. According to this, it was 11 months ago. And is this active? I can't remember if this is an archive or not. I don't think it's an archive. Anyway, I don't think these guys give a F about the crown, man. I think he all just wants to see you and your team address the massive issues of terrible account security. This isn't new, and we have been asking now for years. Sort it out. Anyway, which of course led me to this post here. This is apparently a post under secure RuneScape.com. It's some kind of upgrading systems player support post from the 22nd of May 2019. And this is what I just want to look at for a split second. But the current situation, for context, most of the systems we use for player support were made back in the early 2000s. I'm pretty sure I've said this before, but there is no excuse for that. None whatsoever. You're working on an infrastructure that was built back in the early 2000s, it looks like. It should have been upgraded by now. It is 2020. That is like 20 years in the future from that point. I, of course, was thinking it was more later 2000s, or early 2000s, late before teens, right? Like 2006, 2007, you know, something like that. And even then, it's been 10 plus years, man. Fix your stuff, Jagex. There's no point to this. You have one of the most played MMOs still to date. And we're still running on this old infrastructure. I mean, I haven't played RuneScape at all, but dang, it feels like it needs something. Anyway, back then the Nokia 3210 was a flagship mobile phone. Microsoft just launched XP. Both were groundbreaking at the time, but unsurprisingly compared poorly to the tech available to us today. No kidding. The same is sadly true to our back-end support systems. Maybe you should fix it. Clearly, you are making money somewhere to keep this thing going. To give you some idea, this is the current process of support JMods go through. A JMod receives a query on one system. Why do I feel like this is the query system that I was trained on back in tech school for what I was doing in the Air Force? Anyway, the navigation to a different system using the information provided to manually search the account database. And if further changes are needed, a third system is accessed to make the required changes. So JMods then have to document everything on related accounts for the benefit of the future JMods. And finally, the account response to the player is sent. Also notes that there's no guarantee that the message will even be read by the player. Nearly a quarter, 23% of the messages we send are not read. According to the compilation of our can't read either. Anyway, of systems are current made, meaning they rarely play nicely with third-party software. Ultimately, this all means the changes of updates our system is absolutely massive, and a lot of groundwork is needed in preparation. This means the accounts or the actions we're taking will not result in many quick or obvious improvements to the process for players. However, have no doubt changes is most definitely helping behind the the scenes right now. Here's a look at what we're doing, and then there's a long list of things they are currently doing that I'm not going to go through just yet. This video has gone longer than I meant for it to anyway. But yeah, it's been a while. Jagex, your system is still having issues. And here's what I really wanted to get to in this video, and it is 20 minutes long, so we may not actually get to it. You know what? We'll do it in the next one. So, I'm Zeo. This is Zeo Gaming. If you like what you see, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you dislike it, and I will see you in the next one.
Hey, thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a comment, smash that like button, and always subscribe for more. And of course, there are other videos floating around somewhere on the screen, so click one of those and see if you can find something that suits your fancy. Till then, I'll see you later. Bye.